Good morning, sunshine babies. That's how my seventh grade class teacher would greet us. He was teaching us English, and this British dude, right, Mr. Price, that was his name, Mr. Price. He'd walk in and he'd greet us with a loud, booming, "Good morning, sunshine babies," and I would just remember going, I'm not a sunshine baby. I'm a half-grown big boy. I was always like the shortest guy in my class. Not the shortest. Actually, I wasn't the shortest. Surprisingly, there were a few people shorter than me. Thank God for that. I was kind of like lower mid, mid. Yeah, lower mid. That's where I stood. Stood. Haha. But yeah, he'd walk in, and it was always "Good morning, sunshine babies," and he was from the UK. I don't know if he was Scottish or Welsh or whatever. To me, they were all. When I look back now, I kind of go, oh yeah, they probably were from different parts. I just assumed they were all English. I think he was English, Mr. Price, because he's everything about him seemed English. his He's kind of like this portly looking dude, old. He was very old. He's like he had those glasses that were like the thick frame ones. Where you're like, this guy's blind, even with the glasses on. And I just I liked him, but I didn't like him. There was no love or hate. He was so vanilla from all the teachers I've had. He was just a old dude. When I say old, I kind of look back at it now and think he might have been my age, the age I am right now. And oh man, oh God, maybe a bit older, but yeah, he was. He's portly looking, and he had these glasses. He always had this short buzz, cut, and always these white shirts. I think they were always half sleeve. What's it? Half sleeve shirts. I still have a problem. I got some. I wear them, and I always feel like I'm an idiot. And then I see some people really carry off half sleeved shirts. And I'm always jealous of that. So, well done, you people who can bare arms and make it look stylish. I think it's not for me, but I still carry some. Yeah, I probably just need to make sure I'm not getting photographed in that. And yeah, so Mr. Price, he'd come in, and what was interesting about him was English was my favorite subject. And when I look back at it now, I kind of think he was the only one who made it boring. I don't know if it was a combination of him and the book we were doing, the couple of books we went through with him in English literature. They were just like boring ass stuff. I can't even remember what books. The other teachers I remember clearly, they brought these books to life. I think it was unfortunate that I remember this other teacher, Mr. Mark, in grade 8. The next year, or 9, in grade 9, and there was this book we were doing, and he's like, you guys aren't interested in this, are you? And we were all like, yeah, it's kind of boring. And it was about this boy and a cheetah. I can't can't remember the name, but I knew I didn't like it. Like, it was not fun. And so he changed it for us, and that was always like a memory I have. Like, he was cool enough to just go, cool, this isn't of interest. And I think we took up Animal Farm then. And yeah, that was mind blowing for me. So he kind of skipped that book or went through it quickly. But Mr. Price, he was just at the end of his life or something. No, he wasn't that old, but he had the old kind of old British vibe to him. And it was a combo of possibly the books we did, which I can't remember for the life of me, or he had. He also like mumbled through stuff. Half the time I couldn't understand what he was saying. And I think it was like everybody was just like, what did he just say? And it was the original, I would just laugh along because he laughed, and I thought, okay, it's a joke kind of thing. That's when it kind of finally hit me. It was the original fake laugh I ever did in my life, because I didn't really understand or hear the joke. And then it was a slippery slope ever since in my life. And he was just, so he'd mumble, and which is weird because he'd come in, and the only 2 times when I'd actually understand him was when he'd either come in with the happy "Good morning, sunshine babies," or he would declare when we were like goofing around, right? Like we were an all boys school, and that sucked, man. Like, how do you? I'm so against it, right? Like, if you have kids, I don't care where you live, you gotta send them to a co-ed, much to the damage that might happen to girls having to, you know, go through boy stuff and just have to kind of take our imbecileness. Is that a word? Because boys on their own, man, we had no way to develop our social skills. We just talked to each other. That's like apes, you know, like teenage boys going ooh ooh ooh. It was terrible. When I watched In-Betweeners, I was like, yeah, that's accurate. I was laughing, but I'm like, this is like just true. None of this feels exaggerated, unfortunately. Boys, man. So we were in a boys club, and so he'd walk in and he'd boom 7A, right? And that was like freeze and get back to your tables and chairs and stuff. We didn't really respect him enough to do it, but his intention was nice about it. And poor guy. It's amazing how much bullying an all boys school does. And we were expat kids who were probably on our best behavior. And there we were. And my section, so our every grade was divided into A, B, C. My section had the smartest kids as well, you know? And so it was funny that we had so much shit going on. But he had a remarkable knack for making things boring. Like, he literally, I remember this other teacher I had, I think he was our class teacher and English teacher in third grade or fourth grade. I think it was fourth grade, and his name was Mr. Lambert. Right? One of my friends would sing this song behind his back of like Lambert, the sheepish lion. It was a cartoon that was going around at that time. We never dared to do it with him kind of like around, because dude he was the complete opposite of Mr. Price. He was a tyrant, man. He looked drunk all the time, and I don't know how he managed that, because we were in Saudi in the 80s and 90s, right? Like I'm sure there were ways. But Mr. Lambert was like the complete opposite of Mr. Price. He was this leathery kind of skin, you know, possibly just getting a lot of tans. Probably, when I think about it, probably the same age, but much more weather beaten, like rough. Maybe he was in the army or looked like he had been in the army. And he would do this. I hated him because he had this thing of like, if he caught you doing something, he'd poke you with his finger on your head like that, or on your back, you know. And it's like, you can't call it like hitting, but it was just painful enough and annoying enough to kind of make you go, you know. And he'd do that a lot. I wasn't a terrible kid, so I don't think I had it happen to me a lot of times, but I think a lot of my but I saw it happen, and it was just traumatic, you know. When Facebook came out and people would do the poke, I'd be like, Mr. Lambert's back. And he, despite me not liking him and being afraid of him, he still managed to make English fun. Like, none of my other teachers made English boring for me, and I had an interest in it. I did actually enjoy the subject. So, but Mr. Price, yeah, the price ain't right with him. I do wonder. I think back about all these English teachers, these teachers from the UK. You know, they're all probably 40s and 50s, and I don't know if their families came. This is the 80s, late 80s, 90s in Saudi, and I look into their. I've never had this thought cross my mind, but when I think about it now, it's like, what happened to their lives that they ended up in Saudi Arabia? You know, what made them go, well, it can't get worse than this? I'm sure maybe the pay was really good, tax-free and blah, blah, but, oh, man, to give up your life. I get it now. Like, people want to move to the Middle East, and it's much easier and blah. If you don't know what it was like in the 80s and 90s, everything was hard over there. Like, money was the only good thing, and it was cheap. That's about it. And good food, maybe. But everything else, you know, it was just like really controlled, and I don't think they were getting paid like a huge sum. Maybe better than the UK. I don't know. I really think it's, when I think about it now, it's like kind of sad. What caused them to move? What would make me go, what's the equivalent? I can't even think of North Korea, Iran, maybe at this point right now. Although I've lived in Iran, I like it. Like it's been a nice place, beautiful people and stuff. So I don't have North Korea just because I don't know it. And I go, if someone made me, what would happen in my life? What would be so terrible that I go, well, screw it, I'll take that job in North Korea. I can't imagine like anything terrible enough to cause me to do that. And yet there were like this army of English, British, UK teachers in my school. And yeah, I wish I could talk to them and ask them, hey, what was your trauma? what what were you doing there? Overall, I always mention that I ended up having a good time, good friends, and when you're a boy, yeah, there's certain limitations, certain things you kind of get annoyed about, but overall, I just want to play sports, hang out with my friends, and most of the time I managed to do that. I don't know what kind of effect it had on me for my whole life and stuff. I do think about that, about growing up in this weird experimental environment. But I'm glad for the friends I had. Some of those guys I'm still in touch with, and always when I hear from them or I get to hang out with them, which is rare, they're all in different places in the world. I always kind of feel at home with them, and feels good, this bond. Maybe it's like this war bond. We went through this together, brothers, and maybe it's that. I don't know, but that's some history, huh? And I actually started this episode thinking I'll talk about this other incident because I've been thinking about this memory of mine. This happened a couple of years ago. Speaking about friends, like he called me out of the blue. I hadn't really been hanging out with him much, and he was just he's like, hey, let's meet up and stuff. And quite recently, he had lost a loved one. This Indian friend of mine, like he younger than me and full of life usually, and he just had a couple of kids. He had one kid at that time, really nice, happy married life and stuff. And I meet him for lunch, and he kicks it off by he's talking about like he's doing some new stuff, new business and everything. I'm like, good. He always wanted to get into some, because he was a medical profession by career up until then. And we sit down and he talks about selling his car and not being attached to material stuff. And I in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, I get it. He's losing loved ones can really make you reflect and reevaluate things in your life. And we're having a decent time. And then he slips in, he brings up his business, and he goes, it's a marketing thing. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I was thinking maybe content creation or whatever it was. This is post-COVID, so a couple of years into COVID, after COVID. And then he just goes, oh, yeah. He starts telling me the details. And it was here's the crazy thing, it was word for word to what another guy, and that wasn't even a friend, he was an acquaintance from the theater scene, had called me over to hang out once. And I was like, it's very cool. He was like an elderly, he was known for being a good director and stuff. And I was like, hey, I'll learn. It's so nice of him to want to hang out with me. I'm just starting out. So that was that long ago. And it was word for word, the same pitch. And like 30 seconds into it, I was like, no, please don't go there. Do not do this, dude. Do not, no. And he did. And he's talking about a pyramid scheme. And, but that's the crazy thing. 10, 15 years apart, the same script. And he had fallen for it. And he was like, doing the whole sale. And I'd already gone through it with the other guy. And I was much younger and dumber back then. I was lucky. I don't know how I did not end up doing that, because I'm not a genius, and the smartest of people fall for scams of all kinds. So I don't think people should feel guilty about falling for scams. I really don't, because honestly, emotionally and stuff, you don't realize it while it's happening in the moment. So considering how dumb and young and stupid I was, I don't know how I managed to escape that one. But now I'm like older and stuff, and I'm like looking at him going, wow, you really going to pitch me a pyramid scheme? But I let him talk. I let him finish. I was like, maybe it'll be good practice for him to get off the script a bit or something. And and it's always that Office episode. They draw it. They draw it on a piece of paper and they go, da, 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 da. This is how it will work and blah, blah, blah. And as they're doing it, I'm like, look at the pyramid that you have just drawn. And they don't get it. And it's there. And it's in the Office episode, which is genius. But the best comedy is real stuff, right? And he pitched it, and I felt bad for him. I walked away thinking, I've lost a friend. I didn't get in touch. His life has been weird since unfortunately, and not that I'm, most people can go through loads of things and shifts and everything. And I hope the best for him. I didn't, I didn't lose him completely, but we had kind of drifted away. I should have known when he reached out, when he had kind of reached out after a long time anyway. But I thought, nah, he treats me like an older brother and stuff. He probably wants to catch up. I felt good about it until I paid for the lunch and dropped him to the metro and had to endure his awful pitch, which was quite unpolished as well, unfortunately. So I went through that and I go, okay, that was another moment that stood out for me, and it makes me think about all the kinds of stuff people fall for. And this is the reason I'm saying it's not because people are stupid or anything. I've fallen for stuff. I tried drop shipping right after oh, I'm admitting this on my podcast, man. I tried drop shipping right around the COVID time when everyone's doing it. I got into trading Bitcoins and stuff, not in a good investment way. I'm not an investment advisor, of course, but I do know enough now, and I knew it back then too. Don't get into the trading game. I don't have the time or the intelligence to do it, but you get like desperate, and people sometimes, I think people there are too many people who hate their jobs, and life has become so expensive that everyone's kind of looking for the easy way out. And so there's a lot of stuff that goes viral on TikTok and whatnot, and people just keep falling for this passive income thing. That's the real scam that's happening now, I think, because passive income is like, there's hardly anything that really qualifies as passive income. The passiveness of it is so misleading, because I kind of look at it and I go, no, man. If the only way it works is if you've got huge investments that are doing well, and you've got amazing amount of dividends coming from it, or something, or interest that you earn from the bank account. That would require you to have like millions. All right. Again, not a math or finance genius, but enough to know that's a lot of money you'd have to have parked in there. And I'm talking a lot for it to be just what you live off on, or if it's passive income, blah, blah, blah. Most of the time, they're pitching these businesses like drop shipping or whatever that I fell for as well. That you think about it and you're like, this isn't like a great kind of. This isn't like I'm just sitting around. I'll have to be doing a lot of work, and it's very competitive. And most of the time, you realize whatever everyone is kind of going, make money quick from this, it's already spread too far, and enough people at the top, again, like a pyramid scheme, have made the money, and now we're all the dumb idiots coming into the bottom, hoping we'll also cash in. And most of the time, the majority of the people end up burning their cash, right? That's unfortunately, that's what it is. And so I kind of try to tell people around me, like, the stuff that will actually work for you is not, unfortunately, and I've learned this through life, is not the stuff that that you'll have, like that you'll do with the sexy stuff. All right, put this online, e-commerce and blah blah, and I'll just sit back and earn money. It doesn't work like that. The non-sexy stuff are the ETFs. You don't see viral videos about that stuff. It's bonds, it's dividends, it's rental income, it's a big inheritance or something like that. That's the kind of stuff that builds money, real stuff and it's always over time. That's the biggest gimmick. So, people are so much in a rush that you're easy to become desperate and gullible. And that's the kind of things these YouTubers and TikTok guys keep preying on and selling you courses and making you watch their videos and how to be successful. And then, it doesn't work that way. You got to buckle down and make the money. You might hate your job and you want freedom, but it's really just your boss or something. And you got to deal with that. Like, learn. Sometimes it's actually a good lesson. You learn more from the bad things that happen. And I'm not preaching this, but it's just the truth. You end up learning more. I've learned a lot more from terrible people because you learn to handle them. You learn to go, this is my weak point. And I'm not going to go seek it. I don't like to go seek it. I'm a non-confrontational guy, but I kind of just go, I need to avoid this stuff. Or I know how to handle it better now. Next time this stuff happens to me, I'll make sure that I'm more ready for it, mentally, and it toughens you up. So you got a bad boss, you got a bad job you don't like. That's just the truth of life. As long as you're earning enough income and you want to grow and invest in yourself, just take some ownership, grow, do the hard work. It takes time to build wealth and careers and stuff. And this whole version of social media pushing the speed down our throats is what gets to me. And that's why I'm like, you gotta just be honest with yourself and go, this is how it's actually going to happen. Some people get lucky occasionally. You might have a stock, you put some money, it goes, the stock market's doing well, so you might go, hey, I made this much money and I'm awesome. But most of the time, you got to buckle down. So I'm not going to go further into it. I don't mean to lecture people. I'm just talking about from my own experiences, and I feel like how many more of us need to get scammed before we realize this is not revolutionary stuff. Because you got to remember, all these people are making money from teaching you how to make money when they haven't. There are too many people out there who don't have any proof of having done it themselves. So be honest. You're not building an empire. You're just trying to quit your job without telling your boss. And if there's one last piece of advice I give, to keep pushing this: make money while you sleep, make money while you're sleeping, make money while you're sleeping, and keep pushing this again. And I just go, just try sleeping while you're sleeping, and that might actually make your life better. All right, I'll catch you guys in the next episode.